bridge, Nev.
if you're co-pilots.
Can we move bearing
Oh,
115 or 50
on the
meters?
hydraulics page, tilt up, down, left and right. You can also do it with this one, but this one's kind of gross. If you're just doing a small click, that's what Gabby and I were doing over there on the.
Okay.
So we usually set it so it's just above the porch there and square it up. And then Steve will zoom in just a hair to get rid of the bitchinette and the suction sampler.
And Justin, I've got 115 dialed in on Argus, so all you have to do is stay in the box.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That was excellent flying, Justin.
Yeah, I would like to note that we stopped following the fish, not that it got away from me.
That's right. That's right.
I'll write it in the log.
Good. Thank you.
Justin got shocked by the fish.
Oh, I can see him in one of the cameras, I think, by the bio box.
Yeah, he might be chasing you now. Someday I'm gonna see one eat something. You ever seen one?
A ratfish eat?
Yeah.
No. Oh, I'm with you. I don't think they do. Sea cucumbers are eating constantly.
Yeah.
They never stop. But ratfish?
Maybe we scare away all their prey.
Maybe. I wonder about like how slow their metabolisms must be to live down here where there just isn't a lot of stuff. I mean, I guess there's lots of small, like micro stuff.
A shrimp.
Shrimp, yeah.
I always feel bad if we harass them. They probably burn more energy. And
Yeah, it's going to take them a while to... Yeah, I wonder how close they live sort of to the edge of like their metabolic needs. Whether they're like actually pretty fat and happy down here or whether it's like life is hard as a ratfish.
Nothing comes easy when you're a ratfish.
Yeah, I don't know.
When you're a ghost shark. What's on the top of that sponge there, just to the left of center?
Try to square up.
I'd say the sponges are definitely picking up again.
Yeah.
Video, you can try a zoom if you want.
Trying to zoom.
lasers are off, by the way.
I think it's just
Might be those hydrates.
maybe.
I don't know what it is.
Try and move forward a little bit so
Sorry.
you can catch it again. No.
Zoom in wide.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about it.
We got room.
Oh,
Visitor.
hello. Looks like another one of those synaphobranchid eels.
Oh.
Synaphobranchid is the mottled eels we've been seeing. Next thing you know, Chris will be telling me in the chat that it was actually a shrimp, but
Oh.
Beautiful big sponges here.
This is definitely the most fish we've seen in quick succession here.
I think
Yeah, and I
so.
wonder if that's because we're at this shallower depth. I don't know.
Or if it's because we're at this local maximum
Yeah.
where they like the kind of flatter areas. We've heard, it's been said.
That's a good hypothesis too. There's something in that sponge, I think, unless it's a shadow.
Which one do you want to look
I
at?
think we've got a few, like one in front of it.
Yeah.
Another.
Oh, okay. The one right in front of us that looks like a bonnet.
Yeah.
I think there's either something in it or another sponge inside it.
Why don't you give me a circle? I'm not sure which one you mean.
Okay.
Okay,
The big one.
Yep.
thank you.
It's like one of those mannequin heads for
Yeah.
wings.
Yeah, I think it might just be a shadow of that sponge that's on the side of it. But it certainly is a wonderful sponge. Where's that too?
You've got some dead sponge material there. It's two, they're separate sponges.
Yeah, but it's two separate sponges. You know, clustered together. Interesting.
Kim, you did
Get a
nail
video if you
that
want to zoom in.
eel identification.
Try and move up.
It's one of the best things about being on Nautilus as a first timer. I'm really appreciating the science talks in the lounge. We've heard from our science experts on board about their particular area of study, and there's always a lively conversation around the lunch and dinner table and breakfast table where they entertain the most basic of questions from someone like me that has never sailed before, not a marine biologist, but I am really learning a lot and hope to have a long list of Latin names filed away in my brain by the time this cruise ends in 2 weeks.
Can chase them with Argus there, got me.
Okay.
I think you might have asked me a dozen different ways. What happens to the plume when it goes under the continental crust? And I'm like, not well constrained. But what happens to the plume?
But could it be this? Could it be that? But I really want to know.
Yeah, I know you do. So do I. Look at that.
Anemone?
Yeah, anemone. Yeah. You see him, Justin?
Yep.
I could stop if you want, Kate.
Yeah, we're almost like
Right there.
all
He's
4
a big.
meters.
He's a big anemone.
Yeah, he is.
Haven't seen many of those.
I don't know which watch it was, and we saw the anemone catch something.
Oh, nice.
Whoa. Was anybody on the dive when we saw the electric ray?
I never saw that.
This was a year or two ago. It was like an electric ray, and we saw a predation event.
Oh.
Wrapped up a fish. Yeah.
Okay.
Justin, I'm spinning around to follow you.
Okay, I was about to drive forward to see
Okay,
Argus.
great.
There is I think a really big sponge over here somewhere.
Let's do it.
We've seen that anemone a few times, apparently.
There he is, that sponge. See him?
Yep.
Towering in the distance.
You can see him in Argus pretty well.
Yeah.
So are anemones related to corals, or are they not related at all?
Depends on how far back you go.
I guess. I guess we're all connected in the great circle of life, right? It's just the tentacles, you know, kind of resemble each other.
Yes, they do.
It's at a very different scale.
We're having an expert chime in. Yes, anemones are in the same class as corals.
Oh, right on.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask your questions as well on our website, nautiluslive.org.
So they're in phylum Cnidaria, class Anthozoa.
So they're more closely related to soft corals, which makes sense.
Okay, Justin, that's
0 meters, bearing 115.
I've got about 115 here.
Okay.
As my heading.
So is this officially the top?
No, it's a local maxima. There's another saddle. If we zoom out on the
Oh, I see it
pack.
in the bottom right there.
Yeah.
So that saddle could be a rock collection opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Looks pretty flat for a while.
Yeah, there's so many factors that might play into why these very dense, rich communities are in parts of this dive and not others.
And now we see manganese nodules as far as the eye can see.
Yeah.
Far and wide.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got two subclasses of Anthozoa, Hexacoralia. That includes the anemones, black corals, and stony corals and zoanthids. And then Octocoralia. Which are all these octocorals we see down here most abundantly.
I love all these little manganese marbles.
Yeah.
Super neat.
Satisfying.
Oh, that's going to be a tug on you.
That's what I thought.
Nice.
Yeah,
I was wondering how much I had.
Yeah.
We collected some of those with the scoop a few dives ago. Those are rocks that are precipitating out of the water, right? And
Right.
they're not from volcanic origin. They're being created by precipitation. Is that right?
Right, they're in situ. They're being formed right now. And it looks like when we reach these flatter areas, sometimes we get an accumulation of sediment and also fields of manganese nodules. And so they are just precipitating out of the water column, and they take a very long time to grow. They take millions of years to grow, and they include valuable iron ores or heavy metals.
What causes them to form in like this particular area?
Well, we think that it usually is associated with a current, and so it's constantly bringing in more of the basically the chemicals that are needed to precipitate out. But the process isn't very well understood how they form. Usually they will have, like I said before, a nucleation site that might be a shell or a piece of volcanic rock or something else besides the manganese nodule. And then the shark's teeth, yes. So Emil has to throw in his shark's teeth.
So they form like pearls.
Like pearls, and these keep accreting over time. But when we pull them up in the, you can see that they have a lot of manganese nodule kind of dust over them that hasn't quite accreted on, right, Sarah?
Yeah.
Like they really are, if you handle them, your hands will be jet black. So,
and is the process of them growing and like forming together is what makes the thing that we keep hearing about, the manganese crust? Is that just a whole bunch of little nodules that have formed together, or is that a different process?
Or they might just adhere to the rock, and that is the rock face, that you're just seeing a layer on top of manganese crust on top of the rock itself. Once you break into the rock, you'll see that the manganese crust follows the curvature of the rock that is inside of it.
Kevin's chiming in on the chat saying some nodules can be diagenetic with water flowing upward through the sediment.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat.
Yeah, the ones on the surface are hydrogenetic. Ones in the sediment are diagenetic.
So we have another great potential hypothesis from a viewer. Are the spongin corals absent at the top because the currents are faster here, like the wind on the top of a mountain? Do we think that they're sweeping away?
I don't think we see evidence of strong currents here right now, but we are only in a small window of a day. But we don't see any evidence of the currents sweeping anything away. Usually corals and filter feeders like currents. So that might be that our hypothesis is they will live in places where currents are abundant enough to bring them food or nutrients. So we don't know why there's not a larger population here. It could be the actual opposite, that there's not enough current flow here to bring any organism, the filter feeders that we're looking at, enough nutrients.
Just to close out the anemones question, so they're more closely related to the black corals as well as stony corals than they are to the octocorals.
Neat. Thanks, Science Chat, for saving the biology day here. So we're continuing on. We have about an hour and 20 minutes left in this 4-hour shift, and then we'll be passing off to our replacement watch,
Bridge nav,
who will continue this dive for about another 4 hours here. So
can we move 50 meters, bearing 115? Thank you.
So stay tuned and keep those questions coming.
Maybe be on the lookout here for an angular rock. Like that. Not too big.
So is the consensus then, Gabby, that we do have enough room for another rock without causing any problems in the starboard, one of the starboard big boxes?
Depends on the size of the rock.
Okay.
But my sense was that there is a little bit of space in there still.
Okay, so a 20-centimeter rock?
Probably like
We
10.
could sure try.
Can we get lasers on?
Roger.
10 centimeter?
10 centimeters, so a smaller rock. Okay.
Sounds good.
You starting to look here, or you want to keep moving?
Let's look here and see if we see anything that's about 10 centimeters. Guess 15 if we want to push it.
So when you when you come out of auto heading, because if you try and come down, or sorry, auto depth, if you try and come down in auto depth, it'll often set your set point below the altitude.
Here's a little something. I don't know what this organism is.
Come forward a little, Gab.
Bridge nav. Can we come all stop, please?
How do you like this?
Mm-hmm.
See a bunch of little rocks in front of us, but I don't know
Yeah.
how angular.
We're looking at a sea creature too in the sediment.
We were just looking
Top
at this top screen. There was an organism, but let's get the rock first.
Yeah, that looks.
Oh, okay.
How do you, is this one within reach?
I think so.
Okay.
Can you circle it again? Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, an eel is coming out in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Give it a good yoga stretch.
Yeah.
I love the touch first method. Give it the poke.
Yeah.
That little animal's probably a tube anemone.
The one in the background?
Yeah. Cereanthid anemone.
So we're gonna want to just talk you through what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna go to cameras. I'm gonna turn that one off and this one on because they share the same channel.
And we're giving that full beans? It looks like it's about, it looks like 10 to 15 centimeters.
Then I'm going to go to relay isolation.
That's a good option to be able to fit in that box, I think.
So
got a tiny fish there.
Looks
yeah, you
angular
might have
too.
to press forward more to hold it down.
Here comes the tiny fish.
Yep. Okay. Steady.
There is a little baby
Yeah.
eeler fish.
If you want, if you're that
I wasn't
stick
even
lock
seeing
button
it.
will hold that
Just
command.
snuck right through
You
there.
get tired of holding it.
Yeah, there seems to be plenty of room in E. Is that where you want it?
Okay.
Sure.
Can we get the rock a spin?
Yeah, totally.
That's the second time that we've been visited right when we collected a rock for you, Andrea, by a fish today.
They like your
They're
rock.
wishing me good luck.
That's right.
Looks pretty good.
Gotta get it out in the light there properly.
Thank you.
Ten centimeters across,
Yeah,
Yeah,
looks good.
maybe 20 long,
maybe,
maybe
yeah.
15 long.
Perfect.
Okay.
Then we won't be causing problems.
So that
Will
about
be
does it for the rocks then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
about does it.
So, Andrea, we're getting a viewer question. Are you going to analyze the rocks here on the ship, or is that going to be taking place back on shore?
That takes place back on shore. There's a long process to prepare the rock, and then ultimately we will put that prepared sample into a noble gas mass spectrometer and measure the chemistry. Specifically, we will use methods to define the amount of potassium and argon to understand the age of the rock based on the relationship between potassium decaying into argon at a very constant rate over geologic time.
So you do some work with the samples here on the ship to get them ready, but then the process is mostly happening.
Almost entirely happening in a lab onshore.
So while she's swinging back around, I'm going to
cut
go
the rock
hydraulics
and
button
crush
here,
the rock
and
and
I'm going to
sieve the rock and wash the
bring
rock
sample
and
tray
leach
back
the
in.
rock and hand pick the rock and irradiate the rock and then load it into a noble gas mass spectrometer and then pray.
I think we were interested in looking at
Oh.
the little critter in the sediment,
Turn your vert back on,
Yeah.
and you can go look at that little critter form.
getting some guesses in the science chat as to what it is, but I'll give them a chance to get a clearer look before we call it out.
Where do you want to look?
I'm going to circle him for you.
Yeah, top left.
You see that?
Oh, yeah, the one that we ran away from.
So we do have a lab here on board the EV Nautilus where samples that come up from the deep on Herc are held and preserved.
Preset 1 on bubble when you get a chance, Gabby.
We're collecting water samples for eDNA analysis, rocks for several different types of work, as well as biological samples. And these samples will go out to scientists around the world who are studying questions about biology, geology, chemistry.
We're starting to rock and roll over here.
Yeah.
I hope the swells aren't getting bigger.
Just about lost my notebooks on that one.
Has this ship changed heading?
Video, if you want to zoom in, I think we're stable.
We've been kind of hovering at northish heading for the ship, maybe plus or minus
Wow, that
7
looks
degrees, 10 degrees.
almost looks like a soft coral, huh? I guess it's not. It's an anemone.
That's the
Hydraulics.
the working idea. Yep. Ceranthid anemone, or tube anemone. Specialized
Oh, great
cells.
zoom. Thanks,
They
Steve.
fire specialized cells to bind mucus and build a tube.
Oh.
So the tube might be buried for some distance into the substrate.
Oh, that's why he's in the sediments.
seem like there's much real estate in there with the sediment.
It's a pretty one.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
really pretty.
Reminds me of those air plants, you know, the...
Oh, yeah.
The scientist is asking if we can zoom in a little more, if that's possible.
Try and move over.
We are at full zoom, but
Okay, he wanted to look in, if possible, at the tentacles, but...
perhaps we can move closer.
Yeah, let's try moving closer.
A little hop.
Could see a second ring of shorter tentacles.
So on sat feed 3 or channel 3 on our quad view, you can see us here in the control room. We've got our pilots up in the front row, controlling Herc and Argus. Our science team in the back row.
Not quite set yet.
This is all happening 1,700 meters below us, which is our shallowest dive so far of this cruise, but still quite deep.
Little fish. Or no.
Go
ahead, Kim.
Shrimp, I don't know. I mean,
Shrimp. Definite shrimp.
I don't know. I'm gonna go just say swimmerette. This is another word I learned on this cruise, is swimmerette. So I'm just gonna keep saying, oh, look at the swimmerettes, because I believe that the shrimp and the lobsters both have them. So be right either way.
Okay, let me square up and we'll see if we can get this.
Looks pretty good.
Hey, Dan, how far can we go down?
What's that?
How far can we tilt down?
Quite a ways.
Okay.
Oh, that looks, yeah, that's a good zoom.
Yeah.
That's perfect landing there, Justin. See it in the bubble camera?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's like optimal light area right there in front of the... So ideally, I get them in that camera when I'm with that porch view.
Yeah, I tried to set down a little to the side, but it was just rocking on one pivot point.
Yeah, I encourage the kids to fly the vehicle, not the camera, but sometimes in these rocks and stuff, it's easier to land than move the camera, so it's perfectly acceptable.
So this allows us to see the inner ring of oral tentacles.
Which we can see now.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tilt a lot as opposed to...
Definitely a tube anemone.
Because it's easier to tilt, you don't have to worry about your...
In
out
some
the car
species,
window while
the
you're
tube
driving down the
that
road.
is down in the sediment can be 1 meter long.
Wow. Does the tube run more horizontally, Scott, or does it try to go vertical if it can?
Happy with that shot so far?
Yeah, that's a well-framed, great zoom.
Thank you so much.
I think we're done.
I mean, I could sit and look at this all day,
Yeah.
though.
Me too.
Beautiful.
That
Thanks
is
video if you zoom
neat.
out, yeah.
I think the technical term is neato.
It's like a prime candidate for a suction sampler. No takers.
No
Well,
takers.
I mean, if that thing
No.
really does have a very long tube there, like maybe we could sample sediment up here somewhere on this flat area if there's maybe more sediment than there's been other places. I don't know if that's a priority.
Well,
yeah.
he's saying that it can be horizontal
Mm.
tube, so it doesn't necessarily mean 1 meter of sediment.
Okay.
And the sediment, like the amount isn't the problem, it's the composition.
You want back in?
Mm. Got all
Great,
excited
yeah.
about sediment there.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten any push cores yet.
No.
Just nothing to push.
Can you move 50 meters, bearing 115?
So we'll start going down into the saddle again.
Okay, this will be interesting.
Back in the saddle again.
But technically, we've never dove down into the eastern side of this seamount. Right? We've maintained a western side.
It's kind of been on the ridge, right?
Of this is a ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been all on the ridge. A little
Those
bit on the east side.
10-meter
It's a little
contours
on the
there
east,
that we're going to
okay.
drop down, Kate?
Yes, they are 10 meters. I did the math earlier for rise over run, and it's about a 25-degree slope to get down there.
Do you do that math
we're
by
headed
hand, or do you
for?
have an app for that?
I used a calculator.
Shout out to all the algebra students out there listening. There's algebra in action.
Kate, you said that slope was the one coming up?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm having trouble keeping track of the musical chairs in the front row. Looks like we got Dan back on Argus, and Justin still piloting Herc here.
Gabby didn't have enough layers to sit in this chair. It's under the vent there. It's quite, can be quite refreshing.
Gabby's here too, just
Now
coaching.
wearing a lot more layers.
Yeah, and doing some on-the-job training here for Justin with his very first piloting of Herc. So it's a big day all around. The biologists are happy, ROV pilots are happy.
Oh, Dan, there was a question earlier about how you train for ROV, and I gave my answer for how I got here, but I'm guessing that yours is going to be really different, like whether you use simulators or what they do in industry. I actually really wanted to hear your answer because I didn't know it.
Oh, how did I become an ROV pilot? I don't know. I took a wrong turn somewhere, that's for sure. My story is a little different, I guess. I was a technician working for a company that was building manipulators, and I wanted to get out and travel around a bit, so I started kind of working on the customer equipment, and finally they let me go out into the field, so I would go out and repair the manipulator arms, and that would take me to places like Monterey Bay Research Aquarium Institute, where that was actually my first time operating an ROV, so I went down there for a couple days to help them install a new manipulator on their vehicle, and I got to go out on what was then the Point Lobos on a vehicle that they still operate called Ventana, and they let me operate it for, I think I spent less than 5 minutes in the pilot's chair before I was unceremoniously kicked out. Anyways, I was definitely hooked at that point, and so I was traveled around for several years working for that company, and I would rock up at various installations with a broken manipulator, and it was basically a glorified spare parts transporter. So I'd rock up with 2 Pelican cases, one full of parts and one full of tools, and often to get to the location is not, you can't just take an Uber. It usually involves a plane ride, a train ride, a boat ride, helicopter ride. So I'd be there for a day or 2. So I would always beg the guys to get a little time on the sticks, as they call it. And then that company decided to start building ROVs. So I found myself the only person in the company that had ever actually piloted an ROV. So I kind of by default became the test pilot, and we built about half a dozen of the ROVs, and I was still the service technician guy, and I was spending 120 to 200 days a year offshore supporting those vehicles, and then going back to the shop to a 60-hour-a-week job, and a bunch of angry customers because I wasn't fixing their equipment. There was only, at that time, 2 or 3 of us doing that job. And my wife was about to divorce me. I came home and there was a note on the counter with a card from a realtor that says something along the lines of, "I hate my job, I hate you, I hate your job."
Oh no.
I quit my job She moved back home. She's a farm girl, and we're living in the kind of in the city. Anyways, I had the choice of my job or my wife, and so I went and showed my boss the note, and I tried to convince him that I could still do my job of supporting vehicles in the field, but not have to live close to the company. And he said, no, you need to live here to work here. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to give you my notice. So meanwhile, the company that we had sold the first 4 vehicles to had been bugging me to go to work for them. At that time, I had more time operating those vehicles than any of their employees because I was always there to support them. They didn't work very well. They were high maintenance. So I went to the dark side, as it was.
So would you say that you got your start in arms?
Yeah, so basically I was a technician working on the equipment for a manufacturer.
Can we move
so my understanding is they have a simulator for those arms, right?
Oh, what's
the original question was wondering a little bit about like simulators and stuff.
It's like
yeah,
I've
so
never
how
seen any of those, but I think they have one.
How to learn how to operate an ROV. So I've seen a lot of people come into this industry, both in the research side and the commercial side. And most of them have a technical or engineering background. So
just break in for a second, Dan. So we get a zoom on that?
Yep. Do you want to sit down and take a zoom, or just
yeah.
half? Okay.
Let's see what we got there. Have Anemone closed up?
Looks like a mini spaceship.
I definitely think that's what it is. Hubcap.
Hubcap.
One of my sayings is what we're doing right now is the easy part of this job, operating the vehicles. The difficult part is maintaining them and then fixing them when they don't work. So historically, a lot of the commercial guys have a background in the Navy or the Air Force or factory automation, some kind of technical electronics or mechanical. So there's a lot of hydraulics involved. So we have mechanics. There's a lot of electronics involved, especially nowadays. So computer science background, electrical engineering. It's a bit easier if you have a kind of an electronics background to learn how to turn wrenches, as it were.
Is that an urchin?
I don't know.
There's an urchin.
We haven't seen many of those. So we're here diving on Don Quixote Seamount in Papahanaumokuakea Marine Monument, west of the Hawaiian Islands.
Bridge, Nav.
We are 11 hours into this dive.
Can we come all stop, please?
It was originally scheduled to be a 12-hour dive, but it's been extended. So when our shift changes in an hour, you will get a new shift.
I'm gonna swing Argus around to
who will continue showing us this area.
It's a little, about 10 centimeters, a little bit more wide diameter.
Can we get lasers off for the zoom?
I can tilt there for you.
Oh, yeah.
What's up?
Nothing. Dan got the tilt.
Can we get lasers off? Thanks.
Roger.
It's a beauty.
Oh.
Gosh.
Wow.
Looks like a sand dollar.
Well,
Pin cushion.
Pin cushion, yeah.
so
And one of the Japanese scientists tell me that these guys live for hundreds of years. Is that?
It wouldn't surprise me.
I think they are really closely related to sand dollars, right? Both echinoderms?
I think so.
Yeah, some specimens have been found to be over 200 years old. Maybe not necessarily this species, but some types of urchins.
Is that a worm underneath it?
I can't see anything. This is another organism that has been around forever. It does look like some type of worm or a polychaete worm. I don't know what kind of worm it is.
Where? Oh,
Might
right
be able to
here.
ease off on the verts a bit there,
Yeah.
and that'll stop doing that. It's trying
just
to
surprised
pitch.
to see an urchin here.
Yeah.
So echinoderms have been around also for 500 million years. And to remember that in school, I wrote myself a little song. Who wants to hear it, Gabby?
Oh, definitely want to hear it.
100%.
I want to hear a song.
Echinodermata, why I oughta love you for 500 million years.
Oh my God.
That's how I
amazing.
remembered that I loved them so much for so long. And look at this one, he's so perfect.
Sorry,
I think he
that's
really
me
does have a
pulling on you,
worm
Justin.
underneath
I need
there.
to
He
come down a
might be
bit.
a symbiotic relationship.
They're also, I think they're pretty predatorial, aren't they? Or maybe they're scavengers?
Oh, I don't know that.
I think they like eating stuff.
That's
I'm
why
obviously a robot person, not a biologist.
That must be why I love them. But I do think I heard this from Chris, that they sometimes have, I think we talked about this on a past expedition. So it wouldn't surprise me if they had some type of symbiotic relationship.
Oh, that's really cool.
Econothorio.
No dermata.
Thoriidae. Let's see.
That one's going to stick.
Yeah. That wasn't really fair.
Well, we did need a theme song for this watch. Turtle Power never caught on.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That's why that didn't catch on.
Okay, you happy with this?
Yes,
Move on?
Yeah,
fantastic.
fantastic. 2 thumbs up and
So-
a 4-star rating.
Yes.
Are those mini manganese nodules that he's sitting on?
Perched on.
Yeah, I think so. So there's definitely a manganese crust on all these rocks. So, and then there's also manganese nodules growing in where, well, accreting
fine.
where we see like a substrate, sand or sediment substrate. So it's just interesting that we're seeing these. I guess we might be at a depth. So we're seeing that, and then we saw the other tube anemone, right? And then I noticed on the fly we saw an additional tube anemone. So potentially we are getting into an area where we might see more of these along with these giant sponges.
And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, giant sponges.
Giant sponges.
Giant sponges.
Are you sure we didn't do like just a big circle? This looks exactly the same.
I
It's
know.
so
I
bizarre.
mean, for so long, since 4 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
As we're going down the slope,
Bridge net.
start to pick
You
up
can
again.
kind of see the saddle here. You see that curvature in the foreground, background.
We move bearing 11550 meters.
You got that, right? Okay. I think that's the closest I could come.
Spectacular. They do look like those chairs, those fancy IKEA chairs. What are those chairs called?
The Aeron chair, I
Is
think.
that what it's called? But yeah, they just...
My heading's all jacked
Maybe
up,
like
Justin. I came around to...
The sea star, what's the name of it?
Persingent.
Persingent.
Someone also mentioned earlier in the lounge when we were all down there oohing and aahing about these sponges that they look like Dr. Evil's chair.
Oh, they do look like a Dr. Evil's chair.
Oh, that's really funny.
I'm looking south now, coming around slowly. What's our bearing now, Kate?
115.
115, thank you.
You're welcome.
I need to start writing these down.
This dive has featured many great views from Argus cam. I know the Herc cam gets a lot of glory, but the Argus views on this dive have really shown some of the extent of these massive sponge and coral gardens that we've seen all day.
Yeah. It really shows you the density of the diversity here because it just continues to go on and on.
So we're getting a question from the chat. Are we going to have Thanksgiving dinner on the ship?
I don't know. Do we? Are we?
We will.
Oh.
We unloaded some turkeys.
Nice. And stuffing?
I don't know everything that
all right.
we were able to load on, but
well,
I know we got some. I happen to have been the purchaser of the pumpkin.
Oh.
Found some of that. Couldn't find any fresh ones at this time of year.
I should have brought him a box of stovetop.
I thought about it, but I didn't have room in my luggage. No, really, I had it ready. I had it ready to pack.
You only have half hour till the end of, till we wind down.
You just have to do handover.
Yeah, I mean, if you're tired, I can step in, but 40 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, I love pumpkin pie with fresh pumpkin.
Tried.
Yeah.
But the work won't stop. We'll keep mapping, and as the weather allows, we will continue to dive.
I have a feeling we'll probably dive on Thursday, yeah.
Nice. Oh, I will be so thankful for that. I'd be thankful for any diving that we get to do out here. We're out here for another almost 2 weeks diving in Papahanaumokuakea Marine Monument. We have some weather creating some swells that might allow us to just map for a day or two. But you can always check our website, nautiluslive.org.
Thanks, Justin.
There will
awesome
be.
Job.
All right. Shout out for Justin.
Yay, Justin.
Nice shot.
Good job, Justin.
Yeah,
all right.
so on the way up here, we mapped the summits of most of the seamounts in the chain on the way up. So we'll map a line right next to that going south and then another one going north, and that'll give pretty good coverage.
It sounded like you didn't want to get back in there. I said, I'm happy to if you don't want to.
So we're at a depth of about 1,700 meters. You can also monitor that on our website. And if you follow us on Twitter, you will get dive alert tweets when we are about to put the ROVs in the water.
I heard you say something about them.
So if you are on Twitter, give us a follow at EVNautilus.
Oh.
Or check out our website, evnautilus.org. All right, Justin did a great job. He'll have his learner's permit in no time. But now we got Gabby back in the chair for Herc.
He did do an awesome job.
Yeah, we have about 40 minutes left on this dive before we hand over to the next watch, unless we decide to lock the door of the van and not let them in.
And we're going into another saddle here, so another hypothesis, to test another one of our hypotheses, that the saddle or the morphology is controlling the current flow and the input of nutrients to the area associated with the biodiversity.
So to answer the simulator question, not really. There is simulators that exist. We're talking about making one for Herc, but from a pilot training standpoint, all they really do is get you familiar with the software. One of the things Justin encountered when he sits down here, he already knows this software because he's worked on it, so he knows where all the buttons are and what the readouts are, etc. for a lot of new people coming in here and sitting down, there's a lot of buttons and information. So
Zoom video?
simulator, there's other ways to get familiar with operating systems for robotics besides a simulator.
Okay, go wide.
So this is one of the polyopogon sponges that we've been seeing all dive. Some of them more than a meter tall.
Look down in the osculum, Gabby, see if anyone's
Okay.
home.
Is that a coral in the upper right?
Can I get a Zoom video?
Oh, there we go.
You can keep pushing in a little more.
You want me to bump it?
Bump what? No.
Oh, no, you're good.
I got it.
Nice.
Oh, there's a crinoid on the side.
Oh, yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, good eye.
Okay, go wide.
Viewer wants to know how old this sponge is, and the question is a great one. We've all asked it many
We've got an
times.
eel over here.
Eel over
We don't
here.
know.
Bridge.
Oh, there's our
We're gonna
friend,
Tilt up for you.
It's like a big eel.
Synaphobranchid.
Can we move 50 meters?
He's gonna, oh, he was not happy about
Whoa.
that.
Wow, he can back up.
Yeah,
Thank you, Alex.
let's press the rewind key on that.
Zoom.
Goodbye.
And there's a crinoid, it looks like on a Walterian sponge. Maybe that's not still alive.
What's not still alive?
I don't
The
think that
sponge.
Walterian sponge is still alive.
Oh, no.
Brittle stars all over it too.
Yeah, lots of brittle stars.
Let's get a Zoom video.
And a yellow crinoid. It's a great look. It's like an apartment building for brittle stars.
Yes, it is.
It's kind of like dead trees in the forest.
Okay,
the way
go
they
wide.
are home to so many
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah,
Birds
like
and
mosses and stuff.
mammals.
Yeah, the nurse logs.
You're fine.
Viewers are wondering if the brittle stars and the crinoid are eating the dead sponge.
I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, great minds think alike. Thanks, thanks, viewer.
The brittle stars are, go ahead.
No,
They're,
you go ahead.
Plankton feeders, so they're just getting up out of the sediment, getting up onto into the current.
Jen, can you do the heading of the move? What is it, 115 or something?
I don't take you out of the box.
Yep, I'm going for it. I'm going to try and get back in the box.
Roger.
Yeah, they're just using that sponge as a structure to get higher up in the water column. They're filter feeders as well, so.
Asako Matsumoto, who was with us on the
Screen's your
science
friend
chat, I think it was yesterday, that described them as peaceful plankton eaters.
Yeah.
They're not
And
harming
there's
the
2 more crinoids in a Walterian sponge there. Those yellow crinoids.
That's Argus 120, 115, somewhere in there.
Thanks, Jen. So we're
Um,
going down this slope now, right?
Yeah, we're going
Yeah,
a
we're
little
going
down from this
Okay.
pinnacle, but we're still along the ridge.
What's that?
Can I take your bubble cam for a minute?
Oh, yeah.
Can we get a zoom out when you get a chance, Kate?
Kate, I think they were asking for something on the screen.
Yeah, zoom out on the high pack when you get
On
a
the high
chance.
pack?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just want to see the summit that we're approaching. I think it's the full summit.
Oh, here we've got another fish.
Yes, we do, right in front of us.
Steve, did you see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Was that just on the monitor or was that on...
I don't know if that was on the stream or not. Did you fire a salvo or something? Or was anything changed there?
No.
I saw that though.
Oh, he's gone, but he was pretty
well
well. He
black for a
lasted.
few frames, right?
What's that?
Went black for half a second?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can see in this zoomed out view, the true summit actually.
But I honestly couldn't tell you whether it was the monitor or the HD. It happened in front of you too.
Oops.
The little flicker you see there happens occasionally when the bubble cam is...
Did you move it or something, the bubble cam?
Yeah, if I go between set points here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'll make it dizzy here. Sometimes it
but
causes a flicker on the HD.
Really?
Yeah.
That's,
what's the coupling there?
Complicated.
Yeah.
Can
you come down a little? Oh, you may not be able to, actually.
We did some extensive power and load testing, and everything looked good, but some of our seat of the pants testing indicated that it's pulling the voltage down there a bit.
Oh, really? The bubble cam?
Yeah, when it moves rapidly for a set point, and I don't know if it's inducing noise onto the line or pulling the voltage down, but it can cause the HD camera to momentarily.
I wonder if, I guess we are running kind of low on voltage, like at 100.
Yeah. We weren't able to really reproduce it in the shop, but we did reproduce it a few times in the hangar.
It's good to know that it's correlated with something we can point to.
We loaded up all the Bob bought a fancy load test bank, DC test bank.
Yeah.
We ran all the power supplies to their rated power, and we did change a few conductors to heavier gauge in the bottle, which was painful. Some disassembly required. And we thought we had that licked, but I've noticed it a few times with the with this particular controller.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks viewers for reporting that. We saw that video glitch here in the van as well. Often we don't see it when things go a little awry on your end, but we did see that one, and you heard our pilots talking a little bit about what they think caused it.
Waltarian glass sponge.
Beautiful view of it.
Yeah, we're currently in the investigative mode for a replacement for that particular camera. It's got a very narrow field of view, and it's basically the camera in there and the controller are obsolete. We need to upgrade it with a wide angle, high definition camera. And
So that's the bubble cam, Dan?
yeah, correct, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not the main camera that you viewers are seeing at home. There are other cameras that we don't broadcast because they're mainly used for navigational and sample stowing and tool grabbing purposes.
I think we see another anemone over here.
Soft coral?
Yeah, is that what it is?
I think so. You can go further. Yeah, soft coral, right?
Yeah,
wow.
Look at him.
What a
cutie.
He's adorable.
It's on an angular rock too.
Oh.
He's adorable.
Okay, go wide.
So that camera we were just talking about is, I just put it up on channel 3.
Yeah, so that's
so Dan, we're going
bubble cam.
We're going down a hill, but it's not very long, so I don't really feel like would you rearrange the whole vehicle configuration, or just sort of proceed like we have been?
Down, yeah.
I like being sideways. That was a good idea that you suggested a couple dives ago, to not have to back down it.
We're continuing to see some
Argus,
sponges and a few more corals picking up here as well.
Bridge, Nav.